Hi everyone, welcome. I'm here to do a reading for a new client of mine named Charlotte. And Charlotte has requested a Celtic Cross reading, and we're going to do that for her here today. I've already shuffled and laid out the cards to kind of save some time. Also, please bear with me. I've been a little under the weather for the past few days, so if I sniffle, cough, sound weird, I apologize. Okay, so let's start and go right on through here. Um, the card that overall represents your situation, Charlotte, is the Seven of Swords, and it is, I think, reinforced in a different way by the Four of Cups here. Um, I think that basically the two are saying the same thing, that um, basically that things around you or the situation is one of boredom and feelings of inability. You feel that you are not necessarily mentally capable of dealing with the situation or emotionally able to deal with the situation. Um, and so it's kind of like you're in a big rut. Um, you're in a rut about what exactly you should be doing. And perhaps even sometimes this card can represent the voices of others getting in our way, dissuading us from action. So there's this general feeling of inertia, of inaction, um, and brewing disappointment. You're kind of just like starting to get sick of where you are in life at the moment, and you're just unsure about what exactly you yourself can do, if anything, to alleviate this situation. The basis for the situation is the Prince of Discs. Now, I could conceivably read this as another person specifically, but I sort of see it as representing you, given these two cards, which represent yourself better. I think the Nine of Discs is how you see yourself, and the Nine is, of course, all three of these are discs, and so you see yourself as work-oriented, but with mostly as benefiting from the perks of work. Perhaps your job is particularly lucrative. Maybe you're um, at a place in life where you feel fairly financially comfortable. You have more options in front of you as far as what you can do with your money. You can buy nicer things with it, basically. And so I think the basis of this is that the the Prince of Discs, as the basis of your situation, shows that what you do, it takes a lot of work, but that it's kind of, well, there is an element of it that I think is kind of plotting. I think there's that what you do, even though you're good at it, um, there's an element of it that I think is redundant. I don't think there's that much room for creativity in your work, in your life in general, because you have no fire in your reading. I mean, the only fire card you have is at the bottom of the deck, which sort of gives us another layer summarizing what the reading is about. At least that's what I do. Some readers don't do that, but that's my personal take on the Celtic Cross. And the Ten of Wands tells us that, reinforces this idea of um, lacking freedom. Your sense of creativity, your sense of freedom is very limited in what you do. And I think perhaps part of you feels that since the money is so good, what can you possibly do? Why would you change that situation, even if you like it so much? And it's a fair question. But we have to remember that, money isn't everything. Um, the situation in the past is the Ten of Cups over here. Or rather over here, I can't really see what you can see because I have my cameras all at a weird angle for me. I'm trying to do it so that you can see this a little bit better. Um, but the Ten of Cups, I see the Ten of Cups as being sort of on a similar frequency to the Four of Cups, actually. I think that, the 10 has a little bit more almost idealism to it. I think you went into this job, this position, um, and again, I do think that this is work related because of the amount of earth cards that you have associated with yourself. Um, but I do think that the 10 is telling us that you went into the situation expecting more. Um, and I think you thought that this was going to be sort of the everything you wanted in a job, everything that you wanted to get out of your career. And in some ways, I mean, like I said, you have reaped a tremendous benefit from it. And, perhaps we can say that it has taught you, or, um, I don't know, it's been a situation that in which you've been able to be really reliable. And, the Prince of Discs, a positive aspect of him is that he's known as intelligence being applied to labor. And so again, that's why I think that you're good at what you do. It might even be something in the financial field. You might be working with money. I don't know if you do accounting or anything like that, or um, I mean, who knows? Uh, but you could be involved in something like that. That's coming to me for some reason. Um, but the thing is that, like I said, that is kind of getting monotonous for you. Um, and what you expected it to be, you know, it is everything you've wanted, but yet there is something missing, I think, which is the issue of the four. And again, to return to the seven, the main issue or the main situation is feeling like uh, you're trapped in that situation. There's not much leeway for you to branch out. Your skill set is focused on this type of thing, I think. Um, so, you know, interestingly enough, the Prince of Swords. Oh, my computer's going to die. Is telling us what is supposedly the best possible outcome, or sometimes a possible outcome. But I tend to see it. I don't like to see it that way. I like to see it as the best possible outcome, because that I take as the advice card in the Celtic Cross. That's going to be what your, so to speak, your holy guardian angel, your higher self, is trying to get you to see in the situation, what they're trying to get you to go for. Um, and the Prince of Swords, I think, is very opposite from the Prince of Discs down here. I think the Prince of Swords is someone who, as opposed to the Prince of Discs, doesn't like literal stuff. He doesn't really like practicality. He's an ideas person. He is someone who likes to just think for the sake of thinking, and he doesn't necessarily like to implement his ideas. His ideas never really become manifest. Um, and so, possibly what this is saying is that in this situation, what you need to recognize is that given the kind of monotony of what you do, um, it could be that some of your ideas or your, in some ways, your fantasies about what you'd rather be doing, if you have any, are not necessarily going to come to fruition. That it would require you to, I think, either try something different, um, which is going to be really tough. I mean, I think to jump, I hate to jump around too much because I don't want to confuse anyone, but over here, the Fool is your hopes and fears, and the Fool is telling me that you're afraid of making a decision that would come across as irrational. You are a very logical person, and you are not a risk taker. And I think that that is part of the issue here. I think your higher self is kind of telling you, if you don't want to take the risks, then maybe we need to work on taming kind of loose thoughts. Either I don't know, maybe making more of a mental commitment to what you're doing and really trying to expand upon, ways you can feel more involved in what you do, more like you're putting your personal stamp on it. Because I do think that that is still important to you. Um, it's just very much missing right now. Again, you have such little fire in your reading, and even your planets are pretty passive. The one active planet that you really have, besides Uranus, if I don't really count that as a planet, though. In tarot, obviously Uranus is a planet, uh, but I don't really count the Fool as Uranus. I see him as the element of air. But you have Mars in the Ten of Cups here, and that's about it. You have Mercury in the final outcome. But other than that, you have Venus, and you have the Moon twice here. Taurus is Venus, ruled by Venus, and the Moon is exalted in him. You know, um, Whereas the Prince of Swords, being Aquarius and a little bit of Capricorn, he's got a Saturn aspect, which is interesting actually. Now that I think about it, Saturn is a planet of, well, manifestation, oddly enough, and time, and I would say maybe perhaps even accumulation. Excuse me. Uh, I think possibly, well, huh. I think the big block for you, again, is the Fool here. What you want is some spontaneity in the situation, but you're afraid of it at the same time. I don't think you want to be able to dictate what kind of spontaneity that is. Again, you are a very grounded, practical person. Um, and I think in some ways, the Prince of Swords is very, again, very impractical. And I think it's telling you to be a little less practical, maybe. Um, that is a course you could possibly take that might be more interesting for you. Um, if we talk about the Princess of Discs, I like to save the future cards for last. The Princess of Discs tells us how other people see you, and the Princess of Discs, I think in this case, shows other people seeing you as having a lot of potential in what you do. This might even be a fairly new position for you. I don't know if this is something that you've kind of recently started up, that you're already kind of feeling like you need to backpedal from it. And in that case, the Saturn aspect up here is telling us that you need to give it a little more time. Um, because I do think, the Princess of Discs tells us that other people, perhaps even your managers, higher ups, um, see you again as having a lot of potential. They're still, in some other ways, kind of figuring you out. They're figuring out exactly what you're capable of and what they can do with you. And I think there's an aspect of your personality in general that they just are still getting to know. I mean, the Princess of Discs, personality-wise, is supposed to be kind of all over the place because she is the final female card of the whole deck, and she's the final person of the whole deck. And so she is the crystallization of every other personality that has come before her in the court cards rather. So she's sometimes she's seen as kind of like the song "I'm Every Woman." She's kind of like that. So she, uh, but because of that, she has great potential to become something really interesting and unique. So again, people see that you have potential to do something, perhaps even more exciting than what you're doing now, but it's going to take time, and they want to, I think they want you to be patient about the situation, um, and just continue to work hard and show yourself to be eager and excited about what you do. I think if you make it known that you want to be involved, that you want to do more exciting things, that you want to do more interesting things, then I think the people around you are going to be more susceptible to helping you out there. Um, Also, because I do think that the people around you, you get along with them. The Ten of Cups might also indicate in the past that, in general, your relationships with the people that you work with are good and supportive. Um, but we've just seen that at this point, that's not necessarily enough to keep you satisfied. Um, Again, something's missing. So, where the situation is going in the immediate future is the Hanged Man here. And that is very much more of the same. I think the Hanged Man is really a combination of these two cards and this card. Um, you know, it's sort of a summary of all those things. And I think it's telling you that in the immediate future, it really isn't going to change. And I think it's sort of saying if you continue to not take that leap that the Fool is kind of trying to get you to take, even though you don't want to, um, if you aren't daring to try something different or to put yourself out there, it's just going to be more of the same, and it's going to be boring, and it may feel like a punishment. Um, it could even be that maybe. I mean, we could also see it being a major arcana. We could see it as an event-based translation of what you are feeling inside. In other words, um, something may be coming your way uh, that may limit you even more, that may make your options even more condensed. And it might feel like a punishment or be a kind of, uh, we could even see it as a demotion, but it doesn't have to be that way. Um, it might just be, oh, what? I'm doing my reading for someone. Sorry, she's a pain in the butt. Um, Anywho, uh, where was I? I don't even know. Uh, the Hanged Man. Oh, I was saying how it might. I don't know. I think the Hanged Man. It's more. The Hanged Man is so mired in illusion that I don't think if it does represent a real event, in which case we could even see it as it might not even be work related, but it's something that you're going to take personally. I think. I don't know. I'm struggling to find words to say exactly what I want to say. For example, it would be like If you were assigned a task at work to do that you think is beneath your skill and is beneath what you are capable of doing, um, you're going to see that and attribute that as, a punishment. Like, oh, what did I do wrong? This just confirms that I don't belong here, or I'm not exactly strong enough to deal with this situation, or skilled enough to work here, or anything like that. But I don't think that that's necessarily going to be true. I think that that's going to be just a manifestation of your interior dilemma with your job. That sense of personal inability, as well as boredom and feelings of restriction, just coalescing into an actual thing. So that's something that may happen. It looks like that's fairly likely to happen, given the aspects of everything else. So, it is another message we might say is that it might help to try to show yourself as optimistic as possible. If that does happen, do not take it personally. Um, it is just a reflection, I think, of your own attitudes, and those are things that can change. I think, there is some leeway here for you, even if it seems that there isn't. Um, there's always leeway. And I do think that, one of the big messages is, again, being patient with it. Um, your overall result being 3 of Cups, I do think that in the end, you're going to find that you are appreciated where you are, that, again, that if this does come across as, a punishment or a demeaning thing, maybe at work, um, that's going to pass away. I don't think that that's going to be a permanent feeling, nor are your feelings of boredom and um, general disappointment, I think. I think that you are going to eventually feel pretty happy where you are, because not only are you going to continue to enjoy the perks of the financial end of things, but I think the 3 of Cups symbolizes cooperation with others. I think that it tells us that you're going to continue to have good relations with the people you work with, um, but they might even see you as an integral part of the team, as an equal. It could represent, you know, even a kind of promotion, or after they kind of put you through the tests that they want to put you through, to see how loyal you are, um, how capable you are, uh, and how, I think, willing you are to put yourself in more vulnerable situations, perhaps. Uh, that might, what's the word I want? Um, I guess they might like you more for that, basically, for lack of a better word. Um, and the interesting thing is, I think you also, I mean, huh, the Prince of Discs. If I looked at him differently, we could say that, or rather, I could also say that you feel like you have been working at this place for a long time. Maybe this isn't a brand new thing, um, and so that's why you feel particularly stuck in it. But I don't know. I do think that eventually this is bound to change, uh, and I don't think that it necessarily means that you're going to um, that you need to leave your work. I've done readings for people where they're really disappointed with their job, and the obvious advice for them is to leave it, and to deal with their situation by totally starting over again. And I don't think that's the advice for you here. I think that it's telling you that you are where you should be. You just need to kind of brainstorm about it a little bit more. And you might need to um, be a little less practical about it. I think, again, that lack of daring here, this concern you have about risk, maybe it makes you come across as overly cautious or even boring. People might think that you're not really engaged in what you do, and of course we know that that's not true, that, you want to be more engaged, or that it would be healthier for you to be more engaged, and more active. You definitely need more activity. I mean, that's the biggest general piece of advice I can give you is you need to find a way to put your personal stamp on what you're doing, um, and so that you can feel more connected and more inspired by what you do, because again, you are good at what you do, and it doesn't mean that you are incapable of doing this, and that's the other thing that we need to have you address is, you need to stop telling yourself that you can't figure a way out of this, or that you are um, seemingly incapable, because you are. I think I see you as having the ability to deal with this. You just have to let yourself be a little more creative about it if possible. And if you aren't a particularly creative person, not everyone is, and that's totally fine too. If you just naturally are someone who likes to kind of just go with the flow, um, then maybe you should ask higher ups or other people for advice. It could be beneficial to ask, like, what more can I do? What would you like to see me try to do? And if it's something that you think is very difficult, maybe you can ask for help, and be eager to learn something different. I think in general, you need to try to break up the monotony of what you do. Um, so, yeah, I hope that was helpful. If you have any questions, please let me know. I hope it was accurate for you and interesting and helpful and all those good things. And thank you so much for purchasing a reading. I look forward to hearing from you soon. Thank you very much. Take care. Bye bye.